WATD presents John Paul, the Car Doctor. All things automotive. Have questions? Call 781-837-4900. Now, here's John Paul, the Car Doctor.
Well, good Sunday morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. My name's John Paul, the Car Doctor, here to help you with your car problems. And we're supposed to be having Kyle Brower from IC Cars join us this morning, but we haven't heard from him yet this morning, so I just sent him an email to find out what's going on. And also, I got some apologies to do. Last week, I offered up some tickets to the Saratoga Motor Car Auction and Museum, and they sent me a whole bunch of tickets to the auction, and I thought the auction tickets were also good to get into the museum. Well, apparently they're not. They're only good for the one-day auction, or the technically three-day auction event. So they did send me a few general admission tickets, but they only sent me like 4 or 5. So if you were one of the people that won the tickets last week and you wanted to go more to the museum than you wanted to go to the auction, give Jesse a call at 781-837-4900 and say, hey, I won those tickets last week, but I thought they were for general admission, not the auction. Any chance of getting some tickets for the general admission? And I know we had one listener in New York who was all excited about going, and maybe he just wanted to go to the auction. I'm not sure, but if you're one of those people, and I still have your addresses from last week, Jesse was good enough to save them for me, and so I still have those, but I'm a little embarrassed that I thought there was something that they weren't, I guess is what it comes down to. Well, this week I had kind of an interesting week. I went up to a company called SparkCharge. SparkCharge is a company that built an electric vehicle charging system, and they did it. It was sort of and the CEO of the company refers to it as a dorm room startup, I guess similar to Apple or others, where him and some friends kind of put together this plan to be able to charge electric vehicles portably without having to plug into a house or a building or something like that. And he's not so much an engineer, I guess, as he went to a class on how to start a business and did that and came up with this business idea of portable electric vehicle charging. And unlike, for instance, the system that we use at AAA, if you have an electric car and you run out of electricity, we will send out a truck with the big generator on the back of it, and it will charge up your car and hopefully get you on your way to at least another charging station, similar to going out and giving you a gallon of gas so you can get 15 or 20 miles so you can get gasoline again. So this system is pretty unique because it just basically plugs into house current to charge up, and then it's good to be able to recharge a vehicle. And the systems they had were referred to as level 2 charging, which means that it takes a while. It takes a while to recharge your car that way. Well, they've come out with a level 3 charging system, a portable level 3 charging system, which they say they can recharge about 10 miles in 30 seconds. Maybe, because, and why I say maybe is because our testing has shown that not all cars will accept a charge right away. So maybe once the car says, I'm ready to take the electricity in, then it can, but sometimes what happens is the battery has to sort of adjust itself and be ready to accept a charge, because batteries don't like a whole bunch of electricity all at once. So they kind of sit there for a minute or sometimes 20 minutes before they're ready to accept a charge. So but what was interesting about this was they called it Spark Day. They had this whole big event set up, and it was it was pretty good because I stayed for the morning, and they had some political stuff going on. They had the mayor of Somerville, they had the mayor of Salem, who she's also applying for a new job. as lieutenant governor, I guess. So she was there, and they were talking about how a company like this kind of helps continue with the revitalization of Somerville, which is where the office is located. But they had two different units they showed. One was a portable unit, another portable unit that can provide level 3 quick charging, and they had one in a van, an electric van, which was sort of interesting. They had it in the Ford Transit electric van, which doesn't have a huge range, only has about 120-mile range. And they also had these sort of kiosk-style units, which could go in a parking garage, for instance, and you don't have to try to explain charging. Level 1 charging is house current, so the 120 volt, 117 volt outlet in your house. Level 2 charging is 240 volts, so kind of think electric dryer outlet, something like that. And then level 3 charging is 440 volts, and Tesla superchargers even are higher. But level 3 charging is called DC voltage charging, and it requires, from what I can tell, $40,000 to $60,000 worth of parts and pieces to put into a business so you can do level 3 charging. I would guess, unless you're a billionaire, you don't have level 3 charging at your house unless your house is ginormous and has ridiculous amounts of electrical requirements. So level 3 charging is generally reserved for places like shopping malls and places like that. So this system allows for level 3 quick charging, and it does it without having to put an infrastructure in place. So basically what it is, it's a big box that bolts to the ground. And by big box, I mean it's about 4 feet wide and 5 feet tall with a big display screen on the front of it. And you pull up to it in your electric car, you plug in, it charges up, and off you go. So it charges up your car quickly like level 3 does, so maybe you can get a charge up to 80% in a pretty limited time, maybe as little as 30 minutes. So, but it's done with the same sort of rechargeable system that they use in their other devices. And the idea that you could put this in a rest area somewhere and do it without having to run all kinds of high power electricity to it. And when it runs low on electricity, they have a company, or their company goes out and they swap out the battery packs inside of it, which they say can be done in less than a couple of minutes. So pretty interesting the way it was. And also, and I should know his actual title now, but there was somebody there from the state of Massachusetts, and he also looked at this system, and he was one of the guest speakers, and he was pretty interesting in how this whole thing was going to work, and it was a pretty interesting event, and I got a feeling that it's going to be something that we're going to see more of, maybe in rest areas. And again, it doesn't really add to the power grid. And the guy who was there was Jamie Tesla. Jamie Tesla was the I guess registrar of motor vehicles for a while. Now he has a higher up job in Massachusetts. So bunch of stuff going on in electric vehicle space. And last week I mentioned that I did the column I write for the Providence Journal ended up in Yahoo's news page, their homepage. And it doesn't all the time, but it does sometimes. It did again this morning. And last week it started off, I think the title, and I don't write the titles. The title was, do you need an electric car? And what was interesting about it was it got about 450 responses from people about electric vehicles, and most of them were pretty negative. Most of them are pretty negative, and I know that electric vehicles popular because Ford has sold out all of their electric vehicle production for the Lightning pickup truck, for instance. So it's not like people are being forced to buy electric vehicles. It seems like people want to buy them. So it'll be interesting to see how it all goes on and what happens with it. Our phone number, if you want to give us a call, is 781-837-4900, 781-837-4900. I'm not exactly sure what happened to Kyle Brower and He is the executive analyst for IC Cars, and I emailed him on Wednesday, and he said he was all set, but maybe he's not all set. So who knows? Who knows what happens? So we'll wait to see. Speaking of electric cars, the electric Chevy Equinox will go on sale the fall of next year. They claim to have a 300-mile range on a single charge. They if you know the Equinox, it's a compact SUV, sort of Honda CR-V-ish, sort of size-wise. It's also the number 2 seller in the U.S. behind the Chevy Silverado pickup truck for General Motors. What's interesting about this is, and you never know till you know, I guess, but GM said that the price tag for this could be in the $30,000 range. So GM is rolling out a couple other EVs, both SUVs. One is the GMC Hummer, which is an electric pickup truck, and that's $110,000. And the other one is the Cadillac SUV, the Lyriq, which is about $62,000. So this is a pretty inexpensive, as things go, electric vehicle. So we'll have to wait and see. And again, electric vehicles are, they're sort of the future, whether you want to believe it or not. They are the future, and we'll have to wait and see, what is going to happen with them. Will they be as, will it take a long time for them to get popular? Absolutely. So some of the emails I received this week, which I thought were pretty interesting. Somebody has a Honda Civic, and it's 20 years old, and they say the headlights don't work well anymore because the headlight lenses are all cloudy and faded, and they don't have clear light anymore. And they looked at some of the DIY stuff, do-it-yourself cleaning kits, and they said they saw that most only provide a short-term improvement. Well, it depends on what you do. If you're all you're doing is kind of a wipe-on, wipe-off, I haven't seen any of those systems that seem to work very well. No better than if you go and get a can of Off, the bug spray stuff, spray it on there and wipe it off. It actually does as good as some of these do, which makes me wonder what Off does to you, if it can actually dissolve plastic. But anyway, and then there's other kits that you actually mask off all around the headlight, and you use a special polishing pad and very, very fine sandpaper, and you basically wet sand the lenses, and then you apply a clear coating over them, and that helps preserve them. They didn't like that, and they went to a body shop, and the body shop suggested the use of aftermarket lenses or housings would be way cheaper than trying to go out and buy the Honda ones, and they're absolutely right. But kind of interesting things, though. What we have seen with some of the aftermarket ones, the quality of the lens construction can vary quite a bit, and in fact what we saw was when you polish up the factory lenses, sometimes the light output is actually better than some of the aftermarket ones. It might not look as pretty, but sometimes it's actually better. So you have to be careful what you're going to buy. And if I was going out and shopping for aftermarket headlight lenses, I would look for ones that they're CAPA certified, CAPA, which is the Certified Automotive Parts Association. And that means that they are somewhere up there with the original equipment standards. I have seen some body shop parts that lacked all kinds of reinforcements, caused all kinds of problems. So look for the ones that are CAPA certified. And if you go to some of the big online websites like Car ID, Rock Auto, CarParts.com, you will note that some of them are listed as CAPA certified. So if I was going to buy some, that's what I would buy. And you can buy, for the Honda Civic, they're pretty inexpensive. You can buy a set. So the left and right headlight assembly, less the bulbs. They don't come with the bulbs for whatever reason. Maybe shipping the bulbs right, who knows. For like $100, so you can get your car in good shape where you can be good to go again. So one of the other questions, one of the columns I wrote last week, I mentioned the Toyota Matrix and the Pontiac Vibe, and the cars are essentially similar, made in the same assembly line back when they were making them, and they were really pretty good cars, sort of the beginning of the small SUV craze. In fact, when I was looking for a used car in Florida, I was really trying to find one of these. I figured I'd find a Pontiac Vibe because nobody wanted it because they don't make Pontiacs anymore. And maybe people forgot that the Pontiac Vibe was really just a Pontiac clone of a Toyota Matrix, so you have a good quality engine and transmission in them. And I couldn't find one, so I moved on and ended up sending my wife's car to Florida instead. But anyway, they had this Matrix and the check engine light came on and they panicked and they ran to the dealer and they said the dealer tried to sell them a $1,500 emissions systems overhaul, which they seemed odd because the car wasn't that old at the time. And they did a little bit of quick research and found out, well, maybe it's just a gas cap's loose, and sure enough, it was. And the light went off after about 50 miles, and apparently this person's brother still drives the same car, and it has 200,000 miles on it, and it's never had another problem with that. So now they have a 2013 Toyota Prius. It's got about 85,000 miles on it, and the check engine light came on. They tightened the gas cap. It didn't work. They drove another 20 or 30 miles. The light came back on. It happened a couple more times. But they're a little concerned about going to the dealer, and they're kind of wondering, what they should do. They're also thinking about, they bought a new Toyota gas cap, hoping that was it, and it didn't work. And they said, should I try another Toyota gas cap? Probably not. I don't think it is. I think it's the problem. I think there's a problem with the evaporative emission system. The evaporative emission system, when the car is running, and most importantly when it's shut off, the fumes that build up inside the gas tank get stored in a charcoal canister. When you start up the car, it takes this gas fumes and reburns it inside the engine. What can happen is there's a purge valve in the system that can go bad, so basically just a vent of sorts, and it can go bad, and it can either, in the worst case, it can add raw fuel into the system. In other cases, it just doesn't seal up properly. So I think there's probably a problem with that. It's pretty common with Toyota products, even with the Prius. So I think what needs to happen is it needs to go back to a repair shop or the dealership. And I say or the dealership because the car is almost 10 years old now. Keep in mind the 2023 cars are starting to come out. So this 2013 is almost 10 years old now. And the dealer at some point may not have any more parts availability to this than any other place would. And what will happen is they'll go in, they'll check the code, see what the code is. Again, probably an evap code. That's the most common on these vehicles. And they'll more than likely fill the system with synthetic smoke. So they kind of fill everything up with the synthetic smoke from a smoke machine. And then they start to activate the different solenoids, and they as crazy as it sounds, as complicated as the system is, basically what you do is you look for the smoke to leak out. So you look for wherever the smoke comes out, then okay, there's the issue. Okay, well, we found the leak. It's where the smoke's leaking out, and then you replace the part that goes bad, and that usually solves the problem. So usually a couple $100 you can get it taken care of, and there you go. So just like that. One of the other interesting one was person purchased a used Hyundai Santa Fe, and it's still under warranty, and the dealer said since it's a certified pre-owned vehicle, they need to come back to the dealer for service to maintain the warranty. And the person says, I've built up a great relationship over the years with my own mechanic, but they don't want to void the 100,000 mile 10-year warranty. And they're concerned as, what happens if will I void the warranty? Do I have to go back to the dealer? What's the deal? And the deal is that you don't need to go back to the dealer. What's nice is where this was a certified pre-owned car. Normally when you buy a used Hyundai, and the drivetrain warranty is 10 years or 100,000 miles, and the bumper-to-bumper warranty is 5 years or 60,000 miles. What happens when you buy that car as a used car, everything drops to 5 years or 60,000, except for the fact that where it's certified pre-owned, it means that it's sort of the best of the best with Hyundai, and the 10-year, 100,000 mile drivetrain warranty transfers with the car. So does that mean you have to go back to the dealer? No, you don't have to go back to the dealer. You just have to use quality parts. And Hyundais are one of those cars, and I own one, that I would only recommend using the Hyundai oil filter. And I have had, I've had the oil changed by Hyundai. I've had the oil changed by aftermarket places, and I've changed the oil myself. And I bought what I always thought was good quality oil filters, and I heard a little bit of engine tap when I first started the car, so I went in and swapped the oil filter over, put the Hyundai oil filter on, noise went away. So in this case, when I do change the oil myself with the car, I use Hyundai oil filters. So, but as far as the warranty goes, as long as you keep records and use quality parts, again, you can do the work yourself. You don't have to go out and have someone else do it for you. So, so it should be fine. So, well, it looks like Kyle Brower isn't going to join us today. So don't know what happened. I hope he's okay. When I emailed him on Wednesday, it seemed like everything was okay. But the topic was going to be, and I was going to be the best cars for teens, which I thought was a good topic. He works for IC Cars, and they did the best cars for teens. And also, I thought maybe I could find out if he went to the Detroit Auto Show, which technically, I guess it's called the North American International Auto Show. And I always went there in right after the first of the year, where Detroit, a lot like Massachusetts, is cold. And it never seems like... it was one of those places that I traveled to that I always decided I'm going to be cold. There's no. If I'm going out somewhere at night, if I have to go somewhere, if I'm going to a dinner, if I'm meeting some friends somewhere, I'm just going to be cold because it's going to be cold. It's going to be wintry. It's going to be miserable, and you can never bring enough warm clothes with you, especially if you're flying out and bringing a little carry-on bag kind of thing. So I was hoping to be able to get a little information about this new and improved. Hopefully, new and improved auto show in Detroit, see what it was like. I have a feeling it was okay, but I don't think it was terrific. So I was kind of hoping we'd hear from that. Well, why don't we take a break and pay some bills? Again, if you'd like to join us, the call-in number is 781-837-4900. 781-837-4900. We'll take a break. When we come back, I have a car review to talk about, which happens to be electric. A little bit of an update of the end of the year car shows that are going on. In fact, one of them's going on in Milford right now, out in Milford, Mass. If you're up in that area, check out the Milford Car Show that I believe it's the Lions Club puts that on. And we'll talk about some of the other car shows that are still out and around. People are still out and around with their car shows coming up. So we have that coming up as well. So a car review coming up next, a little bit of an update, and, of course, more automotive news. And we'd like to talk to you. Our phone number is 781-837-4900. Car repair questions, try to answer them all. Car choice questions, try to answer those as well. Anything automotive, give us a call at 781-837-4900. We'll be right back.
Plymouth County is a large area stretching from just south of Boston down to the Cape Cod Canal. I'm Alex Bezanson. Join me and my guests for county-wide coverage, everything from the Mayflower Landing to the most recent town meetings, how national news affects us locally, and how things that happen in Plymouth County affects the rest of the South Shore. Tune in for All About Plymouth County, Tuesday nights at 7, here on 95.9 WATD.
I am Marco, and I am always been full of life, full of energy, and always on the go. At the age of 21, I was diagnosed with kidney disease. My life was saved by an organ donor. Receiving a life-saving organ put my life back into play, and I was able to move forward and make my dreams come true. Anyone can sign up to be an organ donor, whether you're 16 or 96. Be a hero. Be an organ donor. Register today.
Register at registerme.org, sponsored by New England Donor Services.
Well, hey there. It's Chris from South Shore Buds in Marshfield. I don't know about you, but I grew up pretty skeptical of anything cannabis related. From the time I drank juice in a box to long after I drank wine from a box, I stayed away. I just said no. It wasn't until I met someone who answered all of my questions, and I had a lot of them, that I finally gave it a try. It didn't take long for me not just to become a fan, but to discover the potential benefits of cannabis. So, if you're curious, if you've got questions, like I did, stop by South Shore Buds. Or, if you're an experienced consumer looking for a thoughtfully curated menu, stop by South Shore Buds. We'll help you find your happy place. We're at 985 Plain Street, just off Route 3 at exit 27 in Marshfield. Or check us out online where you can browse, place an order for pickup, or place an order for delivery at southshorebuds.com. That's southshorebuds.com. Always consume responsibly.
Make an appointment Sunday morning at 11 for John Paul, the Car Doctor, on 95.9 WATD. Now, back to the Car Doctor.
And welcome back to the Car Doctor program. Again, if you would like to join us, 781-837-4900 on this. I don't know how it is. What's it like up in Marshfield? On Cape Cod, it's humid, in the 70s, and windy as can be.
Right now, it is not super windy, but it's upper 70s. Looks like it's 76 degrees outside.
Yeah. So but it is pretty windy. And I promised a car review, and the car review is sort of an interesting car because it is a it's a car that it caught me a little by surprise how good it was, and that is the Ioniq. And I really liked it. It's an all-electric car. First off, it's called the Ioniq 5. It's an all-electric small SUV that comes in 4 trim levels. The base model with the smaller battery, it delivers about 220 miles of range. The SE and the SEL and limited trim that have an advertised range of 303 miles. All models are standard rear-wheel drive with all-wheel drive available in all but the base level trim. The road test was in a very nicely equipped all-wheel drive model, which, when fully charged, displayed a range of about 270 miles. The battery in our test model also was the bigger battery. It was rated at 797 volts. Think about that. The dual motor setup delivers a combined horsepower of 320 with 446 foot-pounds of torque. I stayed in the eco mode with all-wheel drive. I was able to go 270 some odd miles without too much trouble. Handling was and ride were quite good. I found the ride comfortable, smoothing out all but the worst bumps. The seats were also really comfortable in this car. They did a really nice job with it. I thought it was well thought out. All electric cars are quiet, but the Ioniq is very quiet with very little wind or road noise. Just a good vehicle all the way around. So if you're looking for a small electric crossover, the Ioniq 5 is easy to recommend. There may be vehicles with longer range. Some may be even priced a little bit lower, but as a complete package, I think the Ioniq 5 gets a lot of things right. Our phone number again, 781-837-4900, and I'm guessing we have somebody on hold here.
We do. We have Tom from South Boston.
Well, let's talk to Tom.
Radio.
Tom, good morning.
Hey, good morning, John. How are you?
Good. How are you? What's up?
Good. I have an 85 Lincoln Town Car. It's got original 48,000 miles on it.
Wow.
It was in supreme condition, yeah. The other day, I put it in reverse, and it kind of bucked like 3-4 times. So I'm just curious what you think that may be, something in the rear end, I'm assuming.
What do you mean by bucked? Give me a little bit more example.
Okay, like if you push on the gas, step on the pedal, push on the gas, step on the pedal, it like stutter steps.
Okay.
And it just does it for the first 3 times. And it just started the other day, so I'm kind of concerned. I don't want to drive it, obviously. But
well, I think the first thing we got to figure out is will it do it if it's in drive?
No, it doesn't.
It's only in reverse.
Yeah, and I had been driving it for like an hour before, and I just happened to be in a spot where I had to turn around. And I just thought, I kind of ignored the first one, and then like I hadn't gone another 80 yards, and then I did the same thing. It seems to go in smooth to reverse, doesn't do anything there when it engages, but when I hit the pedal, it shakes, so to speak. 3 quick times. I didn't do it anymore. I didn't want to do any damage.
Yeah. Yeah, if it had 300,000 miles on it, I would say that the spider gears in the rear end were worn out, but it doesn't have that kind of miles on it. So
no, not at all.
Yeah. So my suspicion is that providing, like why I asked whether it did it in drive instead of reverse, because if the engine wasn't running right, you would get the same. You would get the same issues going on in drive as you would in reverse. So I'm going to rule, based on that, I'm going to say the engine's running fine. It's running just the way it should. So either you have a problem in the rear diff, the rear end's got some bad wear in it, which is possible, or else you have an issue going on with the reverse gear inside the transmission. The clutch isn't applying right, or something's going on inside the transmission that you're going to need to, I would at this point, I would bring it to a transmission shop, but I would want to bring it there and let them really look at it. And the first thing they're going to do is they're going to drop it into reverse, because what anybody who knows anything about cars, the first thing they do with a transmission issue is put it in reverse, because you need more hydraulic pump pressure, and if you have a worn transmission, it's going to be a little lazy getting into reverse. And you said yours clicks right into reverse, so that
engages right away.
Yeah, that rules out the pump. But as you're starting to back up and you feel it kind of jerking backing up, leads me to believe there might be something going on with the transmission, maybe the rear end, because the rear end, you get different force on the rear end going forward than you do backwards. But I would start with the transmission shop. But does it do it every time you put it in reverse?
Well, I've only moved the car twice. It did it twice, and I didn't want to do anything more. And I just had it towed to my house, and I don't want to fool around.
So it's that bad? It makes that you're afraid to drive it?
No, I could have driven it. I just chose not to, because I was unaware of what was going on with it. I mean, I was, like I told you before, I was driving around and drive for over an hour, so the transmission was doing what it's supposed to, no issues at all. Yeah. Then when I made the turnaround, I did it. It did twice, and then I just said, I'm going to put a hold on this.
See, that's where I'm thinking that there's something going on. In the differential in the rear end, there's something going on inside there that maybe. And again, I would expect to see this in a car that had 250,000 miles on it, not 50,000. So
absolutely.
So again, the pinion gears inside there could have been worn enough where where something's banging around inside there, but you're not going to know until you get it into a repair shop where they can kind of experience what's going on with it. And then you said this was a town car or a Continental?
It's a town car.
Town car. So they can, first thing they're going to want to do is they're going to want to look inside, first thing they're going to do is they're going to check all the simple stuff. Motor mounts, transmission mounts, drive shaft and U-joints. Make sure everything looks tight and good. Then they're going to look at the rear end of the car. They're going to decide what they need to do to kind of really look inside there, and make sure that there's nothing. Make sure there's nothing really going on inside there to be able to.
It's really strange, and the thing is, taking it from drive to reverse, there's no banging or anything. It's already engaged, and then it's when I hit the accelerator, it's just I really don't know how to phrase it.
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
But the good thing is this is a pretty easy one to look at, because it's not like a Ford 9-inch that the front's got to come off. There's a rear cover on this. You take it off, and you look for you look for wear in the gears. Pretty easy to look at. So that's kind of where I would start, especially where you described it, in reverse. And have I run into a couple of oddball cars where you put something in drive and it runs great, and you put it in reverse and it stutters and makes all kinds of noise because the engine shuts off? Every once in a while you see that, but it doesn't sound like that. Doesn't sound like that with this one. Yeah.
Yeah, I have no connection with the engine, so pretty strange.
Yeah, no, I think based on what you're telling me, there's a problem with the rear differential. Although I'm surprised with such low mileage, but anything can happen.
Right, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for your information. I appreciate it.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Our phone number again, 781-837-4900. I think we have Jim from North Reading on the phone. Jim, good morning.
Good morning. Welcome back.
Well, thank you.
I have a 93 Nissan Sentra that I just changed the power steering fluid on. I just changed the pump.
Okay.
And I want to add new fluid to it. And the manual says Dextron 2, so I knew there's newer stuff out now. But it says transmission fluid. I'm confused. Do I use transmission? Do I actually get power steering fluid? Do I use the Dextron 3? It says not to use Dextron 6. Something that, synthetic, or do I go? I'm confused.
Yeah, I mean, I can see how you would be, because there's a million kinds out there. But yeah, I mean, they're saying, use Dextron 2 automatic transmission fluid is what's supposed to go in that.
Well, they don't make that anymore.
Yeah. So what it is? So what do you use that's compatible with Dextron 2? Well, like you said, you don't use you don't use anything else other than that. So how do you do it, right? So what are you supposed to do? So what have you found that looks equivalent, I guess?
Well, in the past, when I had the leak, I was adding something I bought at AutoZone. It was transmission fluid, but it was for foreign cars.
Oh, yeah.
And that seemed to work, except, I ran out of that now, and now I changed the pump. I'm not quite sure if I should go back to that again or be doing something altogether different.
When you look at that, you have to figure out, what can I replace it with? And looking at it, Dextron 6, I guess, replaced 2 and 3. And that's what they're saying can be used in their transmission. So is that the same fluid you can use in your power steering pump?
I thought I read somewhere that it said it shouldn't be used in power steering pumps.
Yeah, well,
on one of the...
Yeah, and it very well, you may have read that somewhere that is the case. I would, this is a bit, but I've always learned that all of the fluids that are Dextron labeled, so Dextron 2 and 3, which kind of went away, Dextron 6 is supposed to be backwards compatible to Dextron 2 and 3, so I think you would be all right. Then there are some other ones out there that claim to be the equivalent. The thing about Dextron 6 is it's a fully synthetic fluid. I think you'd be fine using it. Because I don't know what else you'd use, and like you said, could you use a power steering fluid that just says Asian car power steering fluid, or could you go use something like go to get AC Delco GM original power steering fluid, which is similar to what the Dextron 2 was. Or could you go get Amsoil synthetic power steering fluid, which is what I probably would do. I would probably get a synthetic power steering fluid like an Amsoil or something like that, and use that because I think you're going to get everything you want to get out of it, and maybe even. What's nice is it should be compatible with everything in there. It's going to keep all the seals nice and soft. So I'd probably go with something like an Amsoil synthetic fluid.
Okay, I'll give that a shot.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Because it's marketed as a power steering fluid. It should do everything you need to do. I mean, back in the olden days before there was power steering fluid, the only thing we ever put into power steering systems, whether it was a Ford or a GM car or whatever, was Dextron transmission fluid. That was exactly the same. And over the years with rack and pinion units, they started to do away with, we're not going to use this, we're going to use this. And there was all different kinds. And Nissan, as far as I know, never had their own branded power steering fluid. I think they were just using transmission fluid. So I think going to a synthetic fluid, I don't think there'd be any harm with it. Certainly, it's a better quality fluid. I think it would be okay. So going to a synthetic power steering fluid, and again, could you use the Dextron 6? Probably you could. But it might make me happy to see a container that actually said power steering fluid on it, even though deep down inside I know they're pretty much all the same.
Okay, so AMSOIL is a power steering fluid.
AMSOIL is the only thing AMSOIL sells is synthetic fluids, and they have their own power steering line. So that's probably what I would use. I think you'd be okay with that. Again, I don't know that I've ever seen anything separate, and now you got me curious. So now I'm looking on the internet. So which is
confused.
Yeah.
When did they go to transmission fluid from power steering fluid? That makes no sense.
Or the other way around, even. So because it says here's 10 best Nissan power steering fluid equivalents, and it says to I'll just kind of read the article. To maximize profit, auto manufacturers like to sell OEM parts and products. There's nothing wrong with that, but marketing is aggressive, and you have to use this fluid or else. Nissan's been doing this with their proprietary power steering fluid. While you shouldn't risk using alternatives, this is talking about a new car. It says you should use Dextron 3. So again, that's the old one, and it says, but Dextron 6 is backwards compatible and is a safer option. And it says you can use any ATF that fits this criteria. And again, we're talking power steering fluid, or power steering systems, not power steering fluid. And they're saying, what is equivalent to the proper power steering fluid. And they list a whole bunch of them out here, including, mobile Dextron 6, AC Delco Dextron 6, AMSOIL, the multi-vehicle synthetic power steering fluid. They list that out there. There's some German ones. Amalie even makes a Dextron 6. So again, I think you'd be fine with Dextron 6. I think you'd be fine. Also, even Royal Purple, which is a good product, they make it as well. So I think you'd be fine with any of these. And also the other one they list, and over the next couple of weeks we're going to have somebody on from Lucas Products. They also list a Lucas semi-synthetic automatic transmission fluid as something that it's not fully synthetic, but it says that shouldn't be an issue for older Nissan models. The fluid provides excellent protection against wear and leaking. So if you can find a bottle of Lucas semi-synthetic automatic transmission fluid, this article recommends that you can use it without a problem. So I can't disagree with it. So.
Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Welcome back.
All right. Thanks very much. Okay. And again, that's what I would do if it was my car. That's what I would do. I would use some sort of Dextron equivalent, and I think you'd be fine, because what else is there? That's all you can do. Our phone number again, 781-837-4900, 781-837-4900. Phone lines are open if you would like to join us, 781-837-4900. Why don't we take another break, and when we come back, maybe we'll talk to you about your car and your car problems, and I'm going to do some more looking on this and see what else we can come up with for power steering fluid systems. We'll be right back.
Plymouth Rock wants to talk to you. Seeing the Rock is not the most boring field trip ever. Its feelings are hurt when it hears people say, "This is it." This amazing rock has been listening to people's thoughts since the beginning of civilization. It's a 600 million year old glacier that migrated to Plymouth Bay. Today, it's your turn to talk to the Rock. Visit Plymouth Rock and take a video and send it to cplymouth.com. You could win some cash. Want to know more? Go to cplymouth.com and click on Talk to the Rock. Funded in part by the Massachusetts Office of Travel and Tourism.
Don't miss the Just Steph Show every Monday night from 8 to 10 p.m. for fun guests and tips on living your best life every day. I'm bringing sexy back to Monday nights.
Tomorrow night from 8 to 10 on 95.9 WATD. Make an appointment Sunday morning at 11 for John Paul, the Car Doctor, on 95.9 WATD. Now, back to the Car Doctor.
And welcome back. And, I looked on a couple more places, some forums and stuff, and everybody agrees with what I felt was the right thing to do. So, what do you do when this stuff isn't available anymore? You just have to do what you can do. Hey, I didn't realize that my producer Jesse is also a celebrity with this podcast.
Celebrity? Like if you made a list, I'd be like a T or a Q list celebrity, maybe.
Well, you're still on an alphabetical list, So, but you have a podcast about local ghost hunting, and we're getting. I was in a store the other day. I saw all kinds of Halloween stuff. So.
It is the season, yeah. It's spooky season, as we like to call it. Spooky season. Yeah, so.
And you did one. It was car related, sort of, about James Dean's car, right?
We did, yeah. So it's a relevant story. So it was James Dean's. It's kind of like a cursed possession. So we do like haunted locations, not even just local. We do them all over the world. But the one of the episodes that we did for like a side content episode was we cover like cursed possessions and celebrity hauntings, and this was like a nice little cross between the two because James Dean's car was supposedly cursed before and after he died. So he had the Porsche 550 Spider, and he died back in 1955. It was a car crash. He was on his way to like a race meeting because obviously he was an actor, but he was also into car racing as well, and he was actually really good at it. And he died instantly in this car accident, and then but his car was supposed to be like kind of cursed before. So he had met up with this actor, Alec Guinness. They were in L.A. He was a British actor, and Guinness like had a bad feeling about this car right off the bat. He said it looked sinister. And he was like, "Don't get in this car." He's like, "Please just don't do it. Sell the car." He said, "Never get in it. If you're in that car, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be found dead within a week."
Wow.
And he was. So it was. He probably felt pretty bad about that. But yeah, so he died, and then the car was totaled. So it's not like you could have really driven this thing. I mean, it was absolutely smashed.
But it disappeared, right?
Eventually, but first, I mean, it was stripped, and the parts were sold. And the parts initially were split off, and they were sold to two different racers. So one of them got like the transmission and the suspension, and I believe a different driver got the actual engine. And they used this, and in the same race, both of them crashed. One of them survived. I think the first one was McHenry. No, McHenry was the one who died. Sorry, I don't have the facts right in front of me. But
that's right.
Yeah, so McHenry died. He hit a tree, which, by the way, was the only tree on this racetrack. He managed to hit that one. So he died. And then the other one was like William Eskrich, I believe. Not entirely sure, but he crashed. Yeah. He survived. So one of them survived, one of them died, but they both crashed. They didn't crash into each other. They both crashed within the same race. So you had that. And then later on, I believe in 1959, the car was in storage, or whatever was left of the car was in storage, and it just randomly caught on fire. And then the final death...
Randomly caught on fire.
That's what they say. Yeah. And then the final death, what was left of the car, like basically whatever car now had whatever parts were left in it, the car was on display, and it just fell over and killed a guy named George. So yeah,
tough to be George. Jeez,
I know that the car isn't even driving; it just fell over on him and he died. So it's a pretty interesting case. So they say that the car is cursed, and if you had any parts of this car, that you're in danger.
So and you can't find the car now. The car's gone.
As far as I know, everything that's left of it is missing. So they say that they found recently. A part of the car in like a warehouse. I don't know how they can confirm that it was actually from that car, but other than that, I think everything else is missing.
Could be the ghost hanging around over it, maybe. But
maybe. So I didn't really see. I mean, we looked into it, and we didn't really see any like hauntings of like James Dean's ghost or anything like that. But the curse that surrounds everything involved with this car was very interesting and kind of hard to debunk. Like, why is there so much bad luck? I mean, I guess if it were just a regular car and they were driving around on regular roads and they were getting in all these car accidents and everyone that had anything attached to it was dying, then I would find that like much more creepy. Obviously, when you're racing, there's a much higher risk of getting in an accident.
So it's you, your brother, and another guy whose name I forgot.
Yeah, Rob.
Yeah, and believer, non-believer. You're the skeptic, right?
I'm kind of on the fence. So since we started doing the show and going to more terrifying locations, you start to see some things that you're like, I don't know if I can fully explain that. But my brother Dave he's like the skeptic of the show, and then Rob is more of a believer in the stuff, which is nice because and this is why people like the show, and this is why I think it took off as much as it did, was because we're not afraid to call out stuff that just sounds a little fishy. So like, oh, this probably isn't anything. This could be this or this could be that. And people like the authenticity of that, where they're like, okay, when you have one show that constantly debunks everything, then it's kind of like, all right, well, they believe in nothing. And when you have one show that just leans into like everything's a ghost, then they're like, well, they believe in everything. We have a nice mix of like, we chat about it and we go live with the show. And so like the people that are in chat, like they'll comment on whether or not they think something's real as well. So I think that's what people like about it, is we're not afraid to call it out. But it's Hometown Ghost Stories, and that's the podcast.
And you can find it on all the normal podcast.
Yep. Yeah. So we're on iTunes and Spotify. We just signed with Bloody Disgusting, which is like a big horror network. So
yeah, for some reason I think I have that's one of the channels that pops up on my Fire Stick apps.
Yeah, they're really big, so it was pretty cool. So we're just getting started with them. We don't really know where it's going to go, but it's so far it's a pretty cool thing to be involved with. But we're on YouTube and Facebook and everything like that. So,
and who doesn't want to be on a channel called Bloody Disgusting?
Yeah, it's a very graphic name. So
but it is it's interesting. It's interesting when you look at some of this, and I guess. We'll save it for another time, but we could use for a trivia question. We could use like Christine was haunted, right?
Christine,
the car.
Was that
Steven Spielberg movie? I mean Stephen King movie, Christine, with the haunted car.
I don't know if I saw that one. I'm going to use it.
Come on,
put it on the list.
Come on, everybody's seen it.
I've seen plenty of Stephen King stuff. I'm going to have to look into that one.
Yeah, but there's a lot. I guess if you probably looked haunted cars, there's probably a lot of movies based on sort of.
There was like a whole movie based on like a haunted tire. Which I don't know if that one's any good, but yeah,
it sounds like a bit of a stretch to me. But
I mean, they'll make a movie about haunted anything, I guess.
I guess they would, but again, I'm going to put you in the celebrity category. That's how I'm looking at it.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah. So I promised we'd talk about a couple of car shows that are still around, and if you just check car shows, you'll find some. But coming up on the 24th of the month, down in Onset on the pier, and this is probably pretty interesting. This is going to be from 10 to 5 at the Onset, 186 Onset Ave. They call it the Harvest Moon Festival, which could be spooky. Could be.
Could be.
Yeah, and then there's another one way down on the Cape in Northeastham, and today up in Milford, the Milford Lions Club car show is a good show to go to. So if you're up in that area today, I think that runs till about 2:00 today. And again, if you're somebody who won tickets to the Saratoga Motor Car Auction, and you should have received the tickets to the auction in the mail. And I thought the tickets were general admission tickets because it says admit one single day general admission ticket. So I thought they were good for any admission, but I guess they're not. I'm not sure what to do. They sent me 4 or 5 general admission tickets. If you're somebody who won these tickets last week and you want a couple, because I only got a couple, so I thought they were going to send me another 50, which I thought would have been kind of fun, but maybe not. So I apologize for that. That didn't go quite as well as it should. Also, I have a trivia prize, and I don't, because I'm not at work all the time, I don't have the same trivia prize, and we will give away another AAA membership coming up before too long. But I have something called the Rocket Book. And the Rocket Book is kind of interesting. It's an all-in-one planner, calendar, notebook, but you write on it like a notebook, but then it automatically transfers to your phone. So you download the app, you take notes, you scan and save, and then you can save it to your phone or your iPad or something. One of those things. So it happens to say Hyundai on it, so which is where I got it. So I was at a Hyundai event and saw it there. Well, it was at the Spark Charge event. I will say I saw some things I'd never seen before, and one of them was the new Rivian pickup truck. I hadn't seen one before. It looks bigger in pictures than it does in real life. It doesn't look quite as big as a, say, F-150 pickup. It's a little bit smaller, but it's bigger than, say, a Honda Ridgeline. So it's a little bit bigger than that, smaller than a F-150. Pretty good-looking truck. I also saw the new Mercedes EQS, their new all-electric sedan, which I had not seen before. So it was kind of interesting to see that. They had a bunch of BMW electric cars there. Herb Chambers had some cars there. What was missing, and I guess no surprises, there was no Teslas there, although literally I ran out of, I don't know, ambition to count Teslas. There seemed to be a Tesla. Every time I looked up, the event was outside, and every time I looked up, there seemed to be another Tesla out there. So you can tell how popular Teslas are. Also, there was a Polestar, which I don't really know a lot about. Volvo started their electric vehicle kind of range and came out with Polestar, which became almost a separate company from what I understand. I'm going to have to find out some more information about that. The other one that was sort of missing was a Lucid, which I don't know a lot about other than they're expensive. Well, I shouldn't say they're expensive. They run from the $70,000 to $160,000 range, but the $160,000 range one has a range of almost 600 miles. I can't imagine how long it takes to recharge that. Speaking of battery recharge times, I drove an electric car to Somerville from Cape Cod, where I now live, and it was about a 150, almost 200-mile round trip by the time I picked somebody up and dropped them off and all of that. And I came back in, and again, I only have the capability to charge my car with 110 volts worth of charging system, and so I only have an outside outlet on the corner of my house that I plug things like my weed whacker into. And I plugged in the charging cable, and it said it was going to take 36 hours to fully recharge the car. 36 hours is a long time. Best my calculation is it's a day and a half. But I plugged it in overnight, and I came out the next morning, and I went to go use the car, and it gained about 100 miles of range. And I think I drove 25 miles or so, came back, plugged in overnight the next night, and by the next night, it was fully charged. So I had about 80 miles left in it. It gained about 100 overnight, so it had 180, so way more range than I needed, so the equivalent of probably more than half a tank of gas in a car. And drove it, plugged it back in, back up to full range. I think it's 270 miles on a full range. This is very similar. This was not the Ioniq 5. This was the Hyundai Kona, which is a smaller version, but uses about the same battery pack, so about the same thing. Hey, I think it's 12 o'clock. I think it's time for us to go. Is that right, Jesse?
Oh my gosh, just came out of nowhere.
Just like nothing. So, well, until next week, make sure you wear your seatbelt, drive safely, be good to your car, and if you see an emergency vehicle by the side of the road, slow down or pull over. It saves lives. Talk to you all next week. Bye-bye.